Some Californians move here to Idaho, and some really love it, and some really regret moving here and decide to move back. And others actually come to check it out and then decide it's just not for them, and they never make the move. Now, I moved here from California myself. I uprooted my family and moved here to Idaho. I'm a third-generation San Diegan, have deep, deep roots in San Diego and California, and I'm going to share with you at the end of the video why I decided to make the move here with my family. What is it that causes some people to love Idaho, some people to move here and think they're going to love it and move, or some to just never make the decision to move here at all after they come and check it out? We're going to cover the top things of why that is, including the economy, the weather, overcrowding and traffic, affordability, politics, family, and friends, so you can make a decision for yourself if it's the right move to make for you, so you can help work all this out before you decide to actually make the move here and make the whole process just that much more smoother, so that you know for certain if this is the right place for you to move. I have people all the time reaching out, just like you and you and you and you, and I absolutely love helping people move here to Idaho. But sometimes I work with people that seem all excited and are ready to move, and then they check it out and they're just like, Idaho's not for me for certain reasons. So let's dive into what those reasons are. And right now, when I'm recording this video, the biggest thing on people's minds is the economy. That certainly is going to be a factor for almost anyone that's going to be making a move. There's a lot of uncertainty going on in the housing market, in the entire economy, in the world economy right now at this given moment. Now, there's always uncertainty going on in the world, but certainly there's more than normal right now. And so what I would say for that is you really have to decide for yourself if it makes sense for you to make a move. How stable and secure is your job? If you're in a very secure job, then you'll probably be okay. At the end of the day, of course, you have to have a place to live. That's the number one reason why people invest in real estate and choose to purchase homes, is because you're either paying rent to a landlord or you're paying a bank for your mortgage that you ultimately own the home and get appreciation and everything. So if you have a stable job and you can make the move, it really shouldn't matter too much what's happening in the overall economy, as long as you can be okay and make your payments. Now, some of you might be retired or nearing retirement age. So for you, if your retirement savings have been moved over to all bonds and they're in very stable funds, and you have a fixed income and you know where your money is coming from, maybe that's a pension plus Social Security, etc., and maybe you're purchasing cash or nearly all cash, then it doesn't really matter a whole lot what's going on in the overall economy, because you're actually in a very stable position. So everyone's going to be in a different situation, but that's the number one thing that I'm hearing right now why people decide they're not going to make the move, is because of the economy. You know, I hate to say it, but because of what's gone on the last number of years with COVID and the loose money policy that occurred, there is going to be uncertainty for quite a while in the economy. And really where a lot of money is flowing right now and is going to start flowing is into hard assets like real estate, precious metals, etc. So for me, I'm actually doubling down and looking to purchase more properties because I believe in real estate, and I believe that long-term it's an appreciating asset, and it doesn't really matter what's going on in the economy. I know that people need a place to live. That includes myself, and then potential renters as well. Now, another reason why people choose to not move to Idaho or move here and decide to move away from Idaho is the weather. So we do have 4 seasons here in Idaho. Now, I myself actually decided to visit Idaho in December when we were thinking about actually making a move. I figured if I could like it in December when it was cold, maybe cloudy, dreary, and I still liked it, then I would absolutely love it come spring, summer, and fall time. So for us, that actually worked out. We actually really enjoyed our time here. I could kind of see through the dreariness of the weather and the cold, and I was okay with it. Now, having have lived here, actually, it does get really cold here. In fact, this last winter that we had was a very long winter. We finally are just coming out of it as we go into spring, the first day of spring when I'm recording this video, but we had our first snowfall on November 1st, so even before winter set in. So we had about 4.5 months of winter or so. So rather long winter. It got really cold. There were times where it was in the single digits at night and in the 20s during the day. So quite cold. And if people are telling you that the winters here are mild, well, maybe mild compared to other places. But if you're coming from a warm climate like Southern California, or even to some degree Northern California, of course, it might be a bit of a shock for you. So if you're not comfortable with that at all, then this may not be the place for you. And that's the thing, is some people come here, they think they're going to be okay with it, and then they decide, oh, this is just too much for me. I can't handle it. I don't like being inside for extended periods of time. You do tend to be inside more often during the wintertime because it is just really cold. Now, is it cloudy and dreary all the time? Actually, not really. It does happen. There's what is called an inversion. A lot of people like to talk about this, and this is a big, scary word, the inversion. Well, what the inversion is, it's just simply a warm pocket of air that traps in a cold pocket of air. And sometimes that also traps the clouds as well. So it can get cloudy and kind of dreary for a week or two at a time. But overall, there's still 300 days of sunshine here in the Treasure Valley. So there still will be sun. However, it can just be cold and the wind can pick up and that can make it cold as well. So we are fine with it. For us, we made a determination when we were moving that we wanted to move here and we didn't really care about all these things. Nothing was going to stop us. And we're super glad that we made that decision. But for some people, it's just not for them. Now, the springs are awesome. Summer is great. It does get really hot though towards the end of summer, and you can have consecutive days of 100-degree plus weather. Now there's ways to get around that, like going to the river, getting into that nice snow-fed river that's super, super cold. The temperature drops 10 to 15 degrees as you approach the river. You can run and splash around in there. You can float down the river. These are super, super fun things to do. There's tons of splash pads for the kids. So there's a lot of things that you can do to beat the heat. And of course, there's air conditioning. So air conditioning here, electricity and gas is super, super cheap and affordable. So when you are indoors, you're going to be very, very comfortable, and you can still do a lot of things outdoors as well. You can get into the mountains. It's a little bit cooler up there as well during the hot times, but overall, it's not too bad. But that's a big reason why people choose to leave here once they've come here, or they just choose to never come at all because of the weather factor. Another factor why people choose to leave or just never come at all is because of the overcrowding and traffic. So a lot of people feel like the Treasure Valley is just overpopulated. There's too many people here, and there can be traffic. These roads were built as 2-lane farm roads for the most part. So if you hit a stop sign wrong, it can take you a little while to get through, especially if you're coming into the city, into Meridian, into Boise during rush hour traffic. Now, some of the main highways through here, like Highway 55, Highway 69, Chinden, State, so those have actually all been expanded into 4-lane or sometimes 5 or 6-lane roads, so 2 or 3 lanes on either side. Now, there are a lot more traffic lights, so it can allow for a volume of traffic, but it still can get a bit hectic and busy. So the key there is to just avoid the roads if you can during rush hour traffic. I pretty much just try to work my schedule around avoiding those roads. So if you have any kind of flexibility in your job, in your kid's school, maybe you work remote, maybe you're retired, whatever it might be, it may not even be a factor for you at all. For me, it's barely ever a factor. I rarely sit in traffic. For me, I actually try to avoid the freeway, even though there's really not traffic on it too often. There can be coming from Nampa and Caldwell into the city during the morning or the opposite direction going back, but it's kind of hit and miss whether or not there's traffic. For me, I just take the backcountry roads. I'm okay with the slower pace of life and it taking 2 or 3 minutes longer to get somewhere than taking the freeway. Now, the overpopulation, the overcrowding, it certainly has grown quite a bit. And what's happening is a lot of the old farms are being turned into subdivisions because Idaho has become so popular for so many reasons that we'll dive into here in a little bit, that a lot of people are moving here. It's a growing state. And so what people don't like is the farms being turned into subdivisions. I had one client who they said, look, I grew up in Southern California. It's kind of the Central Coast area. I saw the lemon groves getting turned into homes. I myself came from San Diego, and I had family that owned a lot of land in San Diego and they sold it all off to developers. So, I even saw that in my own family. So I get that concern. Unfortunately, it is happening. People do have to have a place to live. So I'm not exactly sure where you would go if you're concerned about farmland and groves and stuff like that being turned into homes, because anywhere that's popular, that has solid politics and policies in place, then you're probably going to be disappointed because most of those places are growing quite rapidly. Now, the other reason why people might choose to leave is because of affordability around here. And really, this might even stop people before they come. A lot of people look at Idaho and they think land has to be so cheap up there. The houses have to be so cheap. Well, because of the population growth that has occurred over the last few years, really over the last 30 years, it's not just been the last 2 years, it's been the last 30, and that's probably not slowing down anytime soon, is housing prices have gotten more expensive. Land has gotten more expensive, and frankly, building costs got very, very expensive for a while there. That has come down. That's certainly helping. And the entire housing market actually cooled down quite a bit. So housing prices actually are down overall right now about 13% from the peak, but they're climbing back up again. So there actually is more affordability right now, but homes are probably going to be more expensive than what you might be thinking. That being said, when you compare it to pretty much anywhere in California, you are going to get way more home for your money. And that was a big reason why we decided to move here, because we needed a home that had a minimum 4 bedrooms, preferably 5, which is what we ended up getting, with plenty of storage space, and was very affordable for us to raise our family here and really help us get ahead in life versus continuing to just throw money down the drain and rent in California. So it's not going to be as affordable as you think. Restaurant costs are pretty much the same. Utilities are probably going to be cheaper, which is great, but otherwise your gas is going to be a little bit cheaper, but it's not going to be significantly cheaper to live here. But your biggest savings will still come in the form of housing and your specific utilities for your house. It just may not be as affordable as what you've been thinking it might have been a few years ago. Now, the fifth thing that might keep people from moving here, or maybe they move here and decide, it's just not for them, is going to be politics. So obviously Idaho is going to have much more conservative policies in place. If you align with that, you're probably going to be much happier and comfortable living here. Now, Boise itself is actually on the more progressive liberal side of things. If that's what you're looking for, then that might be a good option for you. But overall, the state is certainly going to be far more conservative. And if that is how you align, you're probably going to be happier living here than another state. If you don't align that way, you may not be as happy living here. And you may want to check out a few other states that might align more with your specific values. But if you are a conservative and those are your values, you're probably going to be really, really happy about living here in Idaho. The sixth thing, before I get into why specifically we decided to move here to Idaho, is family and friends, or potentially lack thereof. So if you are moving here from another state and you don't already have a family or friend base here in Idaho, it can be tough to get that going. And you might feel drawn to pull people with you to get them to move up here with you, and maybe they don't want to move with you. Well, unfortunately, it can be difficult if you don't already have family and friends here or trying to pull people up here with you. Often what it takes is for someone to actually move up here first, maybe yourself, and then your family and friends see how awesome it is and how much you love it, and then they start coming along with you over the years. That's actually what happened with us. We had several sets of friends that moved up here over a span of about 5 years. And then finally we decided, hey, let's check out Idaho. And we decided that it was for us. So if you don't have that family and friend base and you're trying to pull people along with you, maybe you're getting the cart before the horse, and maybe you actually just have to move yourself and then show them that you actually like it, or you don't like it and you move back to where you're coming from. Either way. But that can be difficult. It can be hard to establish new friendships in a new place. But depending on what kind of interest you have, there's a lot of clubs around here. There's a lot of churches. There's ways to get plugged into the community and start building a family, or at least start building a friend base very, very quickly as well, if you don't already have that built. But that can be a reason why people get frustrated and maybe they just don't plug in correctly and I'm just not building my friend and family community here like I would like, and they decide to move back. And now I'm going to cover specifically why we decided to move our family up here. And we explored all over the Treasure Valley before we moved here, before we made that move from California. And then I really, really dove in super deep into all the areas to really fully understand it before I even made the move here to Idaho. And because of that, I have a really in-depth knowledge of all these different neighborhoods that so many people just don't have, because I really took the time to study it, and I'm able to pass that along to you. And that's why you got to reach out to me so I can help you make the move here to Idaho if you're ready to make that decision. My contact information is right here on the screen or in the description below. I'd absolutely love to help you make that move, whether it's in the next 9 days, 90 days, or even the next 2 years out. I would love to talk through that decision with you and help you decide whether or not it makes sense to move here, and then help you select exactly what the best area might be for you. You definitely don't want to end up in the wrong area, so you end up having to deal with traffic or be close to your school or close to your church or whatever it is you decide is important for you. You want to make sure that we get all those bases covered. So why did we move here to Idaho? Why did we uproot our family and come here to the state of Idaho? Well, there was a lot of reasons. There wasn't one big thing. A lot of people want to know, what was the big thing that made you move here to Idaho? Well, for us, it was just a lot of little things added up over time. Again, I'm a third generation San Diegan. I love my hometown. I still have family and so many friends back there. However, we just decided that over time, looking at the way that the politics were going in California, especially with how things were decided around all the COVID policies, we went through years of that. We actually had 2 children during COVID, so we were kind of exposed to some of the craziness in the hospitals right at the beginning of COVID. And then, of course, all the mask mandates and the forced vaccinations of people, and otherwise people losing their jobs, etc. That was certainly a big factor for us. There was a lot of BLM riots going on in our towns, and it just started to get crazy and out of control, massive homeless problem that is just continuing to being coddled in San Diego, and it's not going away. It's getting worse. Every time I go back, it's getting worse, and the tax is just getting higher and higher. Our money is getting spent on things that I don't agree with at all. And because I'm able to move to a state where I can align my tax dollars with policies that I agree with more, we decided this made a lot more sense. And really the big thing, if there is a big thing, it was certainly affordability for us as well. We were in a position where we needed to buy a larger home, and we needed to have a certain size home in order to run my business from home. We homeschool, so we spent a lot of time in our home. We needed a bigger home, and moving to the Boise, Idaho area just made so much sense for us from an affordability standpoint, so that we could get into a beautiful, nice, brand new home that could build us equity and wealth over the long term and allow us to ultimately buy additional properties as well. So we absolutely love living in Idaho. I would love to help you make that move here, and all of our clients end up becoming friends with us, and we absolutely love it. So if that's you, just reach out. Again, we'll jump on a Zoom call. We'll figure out exactly where you want to go. And if you are looking to move to the Treasure Valley and you want to know what the best areas are, go ahead and just check out this video right here. See you on that video.